Te Koto, Tefano, Oatan Unitarians. Te Koto, Naman here. No mai, higher mai ki tene hui. Na mihi a te arana. Te Koto, te tato. Happy Easter, everyone.
Yora.
Hi.
Yora.
Yoda.
Yoda.
This is certainly the most unusual Easter I've ever experienced, as is true for all of you. And yet, we still gather today in the presence of the old story of death, defeated by emptiness, of hope and newness, triumphant over fear and separation. We come, hearts heavy with pain and anxiety, spirits flattened by exhaustion and apathy, vision darkened by strife and violence. And yet we come seeking connection and love in this place of community. May the old stories of Passover and Easter, full of hope and rebirth, lighten our hearts and make us glad in the presence of each other's love. May our spirits be as joyful, may be joyful as we worship together today. And now, if you have a chalice or a candle, it's time for our virtual chalice lighting. Kind of fades in and out on my picture, doesn't it? For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be connected, if not physically, together as a community, to remember the past, to plan our future, and to be alive in our present. My opening words are by Linda Susan Ulrich and are entitled Easter Again. We live inside paradox. Humans generally don't like to admit it. We much prefer tidy, stable, comprehensible, logical ways of getting through the day. But paradox is woven into the fabric of this particular universe we inhabit. Light is both a particle and a wave. Imaginary numbers describe the math of physical phenomena. Love and grief are inextricably linked, as are rage and sorrow, suffering and compassion, life and death. Time itself is both linear and cyclical. Each person's life traces a single arc, yet patterns emerge and reemerge. Fear always seems to return. Goodness knows, terror finds its way back into the news. We always seem to in need of help to roll back big stones that block our way. Yet we come back to the Alleluia, even if its absence has gone on far longer than 40 days of Lent. We raise each other's spirits when our sacred places seem empty. We anoint each other. We engage in a demanding faith that asks us to love the next world into being today. We are joyful, though we have considered all the facts. We practice resurrection. It is Easter again, my friends, and you are surrounded by a multitude who wish you well. Here are some random musings about a Unitarian Easter. One of the blessings of being a UU minister, having moved on from Anglicanism, is I don't have to begin an Easter talk by explaining that the events of Passover and Easter are not history. They are stories, albeit powerful ones. They are not literally true. The blood of the Lamb did not protect the Hebrew people from the plague killing Egypt's firstborn. The bodily resurrection of Jesus did not take place. That means I can skip right to why the stories have been told for millennia. I could jump in with both feet as to why Unitarians should still tell them, even those of us who are dyed-in-the-wool humanists, who have exchanged divinity for reason. We are open to the possibility that these stories can, let me rephrase that. Are we open to the possibility that these stories can draw us in and transform us anyway? Are these stories just old, dusty accounts from the past? Or might they still have some contemporary relevance if we could just shed, even if only for today, our disbelief? In brief, the Passover story at its core is about the bitter tears of enslavement, and yet how hard we find it to give up our slave mentality. When faced with the difficulties, we long for the good old days. We may have been slaves, but at least we had enough to eat, the Hebrew people moaned. Moses didn't wander in the wilderness for 40 years because he didn't have GPS. He did so because it took 2 generations for the Hebrews to let go of the past and enter into the uncertainty of liberation. The Easter moment takes the story further. It was not by accident that the story in 3 out of 4 Gospels begins with Jesus celebrating Passover with his disciples as preparation for his death. He is telling them and us to let go of the power over us we have given to our oppressors in the past. We need not be their slaves. Let go of the power over us we have given to death. We need not be their slaves. Those were not the good old days. Those days lie ahead. We need only embrace the unconquerable power of love to speak truth to power and live without fear of our mortality. Live out that love as a humble but not humbled servant of our neighbor, the stranger, to the very planet we all inhabit. Jesus showed us by washing his disciples' feet that we should wash people's feet, even those feet covered with the filth and slime of hate, ignorance, and selfishness that trample the poor and marginalized. You don't have to be either Jewish or Christian to find these stories compelling. They speak to our common humanity, to both our frailties and our strengths. We keep telling them so our frailties don't overwhelm our capacity to be all we are capable of being. Transformation is not a once and for all time event. It is a process requiring the telling and retelling of Passover and Easter stories or their like over a lifetime, because we just don't get it right away. It takes us time to become a character in the story, making it our own. Let me tell a less familiar story that tells how hard it is. It is true in every sense. I hope you've had a chance, or will get the chance, to visit the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Since the 4th century, it has been considered by Christians of all stripes to be the location of Jesus' execution and burial. When I visited, I was astounded by what I encountered. The church is occupied by a number of rival religious denominations, each having their own chapel. When I was there, a number of them were holding Mass, each striving to shout over the other. It was hardly a holy cacophony. Spiritual peace was not on offer. Over many centuries, numerous conflicts have arisen between those of opposing beliefs, sheltering in place in the sepulchre's bubble, right up to the present. In 2002, a Coptic monk moved his chair from its agreed place in the shade. This was interpreted as a hostile act by Ethiopian Christians. 11 people were hospitalized. In another incident in 2004, during Orthodox celebrations of the exaltation of the Holy Cross, a door to the Franciscan chapel was left open. This was taken as a sign of disrespect by the Orthodox, and a fistfight broke out. Well, one of the unexpected consequences of COVID-19 pandemic is that it has brought peace to the Holy Sepulchre. It has been closed. The last time that happened was in 1349 during an outbreak of the Black Plague. That's interesting. But what is more interesting is who locked the doors. The key master of Holy Sepulchre is Muslim. The Nusayba clan, alongside with the Judah al-Ghudia family, are the key holders to the church. The Sunni Muslim family, being the key master in the church, is an established tradition that goes back to the 7th century. One of the great ancestors of the Nusayba family was Uba ibn al-Samad, who settled in Jerusalem in the 7th century in the wake of the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem, and who was appointed as a governor by the Caliph Omar. The keys of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre were placed in the custody of the family, and it is so until today. The hope is having a Muslim key holder will help avoid clashes between the rival Christian sects seeking total control of the church. Most of us know the word Islam is derived from the Arabic word for peace. This Muslim's job is keeping the peace amongst Christians. Aside from appreciating the irony, perhaps during this lockdown Easter, we can seek ways to offer hope, be an unexpected instrument of peace and source of transforming love. During this time of turbulence, I remind you, it is essential that we wash hands and wash feet. Happy Unitarian Easter. It is now time for breakout conversations. And I'd like you to maybe talk about these two things. And just to be clear, I'm going to give you 5 more minutes than last week. So you've got 15 minutes of conversation. And the things I'd like you maybe talk about is, how has your view of Easter changed since you were a child? And if you have time, who is washing your feet during the pandemic? Whose feet are you washing? Well, welcome back. Hope you had a good discussion and enough time for it. We'll extinguish the chalice and then have notices and our closing words and a postlude. I know you know the words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Here are my closing words. They're by Lisa DeWege. Rejecting literal readings of what we insist is only a myth. We look to nature and religions close to the earth for alternative stories of the season, explaining away troublesome details, the empty tomb, Jesus' appearance to the women and the disciples. We tell a story that appeals to reason, surprised, nevertheless, by the call of the season, waking an ancient longing in our heart. We pause from our explanations to ponder the stirring. Unwilling to quiet the voice crying for rebirth, fresh starts, new life, we remember times we have been as if dead, yet still our hearts beat and we moved upon the earth. So we set our disbelief aside, if only for a moment, in a day, in a season. Reason tells us life precedes death and death itself is final. But our experience of second chances, cures, recovery, forgiveness, and reconciliation tell us a different story. Even when life as we have known it is destroyed forever and hope has abandoned us, somehow life has held us and breathed us into a new being. Life has called us to rise in fullness, triumphant, humble, grateful, insistent life, who will not let us go, who even at our most broken, most wretched, calls us out of the tomb. Now the stories merge, myth and science, history and experience, and we whisper, Alleluia. Alleluia that you are. Alleluia that we are. Go in peace that you may embrace new life.